Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Welcome everybody to the final community update before the month of Ramadan, and that is community update number 33. I understand maybe there was some out of numbers yesterday, wrong numbers or whatever, but we are on community update 33, which is a nice number. It's a nice sunnah number. So interestingly, we have done 33 community updates, taking only Saturdays off, and it's a beautiful number to end up on, and we will now start from scratch as Ramadan night 1 tomorrow night. So tomorrow night it won't be called community update number 34, but it'll be Ramadan night number 1 tomorrow, and it will be a Zoom cast, but you'll come on to here. So you'll come on and you'll by subscribing to the channel, you'll get all the notifications that you need. So just subscribe to the channel and you'll get all the notification will just pop up if you have your internet on, and maybe even notifications. I'm not sure exactly how they all work, but you might be able to just get notifications. Let's kick it off with our dua. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. A'udhu bi kalimatillahi at-tammati min sharri ma khalaq. A'udhu bi kalimatillahi at-tammati min sharri ma khalaq. A'udhu bi kalimatillahi at-tammati min sharri ma khalaq. Bismillah alladhi la yadurru ma'a ismihi shay' fil ardi wa la fis sama' wa huwa as-sami'ul 'alim. Bismillah alladhi la yadurru ma'a ismihi shay' fil ardi wa la fis sama' wa huwa as-sami'ul 'alim. Bismillah alladhi la yadurru ma'a ismihi shay' fil ardi wa la fis sama' wa huwa as-sami'ul 'alim. تحصنت بذي العزة واعتصمت برب الملكوت وتوكلت على الحي الذي لا يموت. اللهم اصرف عنا الوباء بلطفك يا لطيف إنك على كل شيء قدير. تحصنت بذي العزة واعتصمت برب الملكوت وتوكلت على الحي الذي لا يموت. اللهم اصرف عنا الوباء بلطفك يا لطيف إنك على كل شيء قدير. تحصنت بذي العزة واعتصمت برب الملكوت وتوكلت على الحي الذي لا يموت. اللهم اصرف عنا الوباء بلطفك يا لطيف إنك على كل شيء قدير. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وبعد. And here today, what I want to do is look over some of the adab of Sawm and look over some of the important things that we can't miss out on. And mostly we have to look at what would ruin our Sawm before looking at what the purpose is, because the purpose of our Sawm should be in effect mahabbatullah wa taslim ila amrih. And what is the meaning of ibadah? The meaning of worship and ibadah, and you should ask yourself this often, because you're about to do something that's quite difficult. I don't think anyone else in the world does what we're about to do. And I think a lot of people wouldn't be able to do what we're about to do bi'idhnillah ta'ala if it was not for at-taslim lillah wa mahabbatillahi wa rasulillah. It's love of Allah and it's taslim and it's a sidq. All right, what is a sidq? It is the knowledge that something is true. So iman, the definition of iman is a tasdeeq, and it is the knowledge that something is true. Notice, it's not blind faith. Our religion is not based upon blind faith. All right, the actual very meaning of a tasdeeq is to have evidence that something is true. And the idea that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. So this is a religion where it's belief, but it's based upon that there's evidence for belief. And our number one pieces of evidence for belief and iman is the trustworthiness of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some people say, let's look at the proofs for the existence of God. What difference does it make if you can rationally prove the existence of God? You would still have to prove the Prophet, peace be upon him, right? Because rationally proving that God exists doesn't necessarily mean that you have proven that the Prophet Muhammad is speaking the truth and that Islam is the way to worship Allah. So let's just go straight to the source, which is the proofs that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a truthful prophet. So, and we're not going to get into that. That's assumed. But if you ever have weakness, some people have weakness when it comes to ibadat or muamalat, or like hijab might be a weakness for some people. Fasting might be a weakness for some people. Accepting bala might be a weakness for some people. Whenever we have any weakness in deen, what do we go to? Go right back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and asking yourselves, do you believe this man and all his promises or not? It's that simple. If you believe this man, then you know that Allah is there, you know that everything that is coming from Him is from a wisdom, and you know the Sharia is good for us, and these rituals are good for us, and that even if the whole world was against us, it's still true. It won't make a difference. So this is an ibadah. Doing a hard ibadah increases iman. Okay? All right. The harder the ibadah is to do, like Hajj, like, okay, what's going to increase iman more? Moving a tack from the street and praying 2 rak'ahs, or making Hajj? Right? Of course, Hajj. So the more effort that's put into ibadah, the more a person's iman increases. And so we have to go into this month having a full certainty in the truthfulness of Allah and His Messenger, and doing this with the love of Allah. Now, what happens if a person does not possess love in their heart for Allah? They simply don't possess this love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Well, one of the things that increases a person's love for Allah ta'ala is constant remembrance of Him. Constant remembrance of Him. By either the Quran, or tasbih, or dhikr of any sort. Now, what is the secret of dhikrullah? Many of the ulama comment on this ayah of Allah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم الذين أخرجوا من ديارهم بغير حق إلا أن يقولوا ربنا الله ولولا دفع الله الناس بعضهم ببعض لهدمت صوامع وبيع وصلوات ومساجد يذكر فيها اسم الله كثيرا. Okay? ولا ينصر أن الله من ينصره. This ayah says it's about oppression. And Allah says, if it was not for some people to stop the oppression of others, then what would be destroyed? Churches, temples, and mosques. Now I have a question. Why would a Muslim worry if churches, temples, and mosques were destroyed when that's not the right religion to begin with? Temples and churches. They're not on the right belief to begin with. Why? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us because the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned in them. Okay? So that means the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by itself, it has a benefit to them. They're benefiting by uttering the name of Allah. Of course, they're harming themselves by believing bad things. Okay? And so the tafsir clearly says here, it is churches and synagogues, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala disallowed the Muslims to destroy them. Okay? Because at the very least, the name of Allah. So what's the point? The khulasa here and the shahid is that the very name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has an impact on the heart of a person. Okay? All dhikr, all adhkar, why do they have value? Because the word Allah, lafdhul jalala, the expression of majesty, is mentioned there. Okay? So you can't say alhamd, 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 it doesn't benefit you. To say alhamdulillah, right? Akbar, akbar, akbar. No, Allahu akbar, right? So it's by the dhikr of Allah. Lafdhul jalala that's where the benefit comes into the heart of the human being. And therefore, if an individual is feeling dryness and weakness of their iman, then they need to go back to uttering kalimat la ilaha illallah. I was talking to some brothers. They were wondering if they could pray Taraweeh with the English Quran. Well, I sympathize because he wants to read Quran, but he doesn't know Arabic. Okay? So, such brothers and sisters will pray their Taraweeh with whatever they know. And if they know nothing except to say La ilaha illallah, then they should busy themselves all day saying La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. And this by itself will increase a person's iman. Okay? For those who don't read Arabic, you could do something else as well. Listening. Prophet ﷺ promised the same reward for those to recite, all right, for those who listen as those who recite, because not everyone can recite, even in the time of the Prophet. There were, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there were people that couldn't recite. The bulk of the Islamic world today doesn't know how to recite the Arabic Quran. So what they should do is listen, and they should do dhikr of La ilaha illallah and devote themselves to that. You could do other adhkar. If you're unable to recite Quran, look at this dhikr that the Prophet ﷺ gave in a hadith that's narrated that states, whosoever recites Surah Al-Ikhlas, Qul Huwallahu Ahad. The Prophet didn't use the word Surah Al-Ikhlas, he simply said Qul Huwallahu Ahad, meaning oftentimes he would refer to the small surahs simply with the beginning few verses. Whoever recites Qul Huwallahu Ahad 200 times, then 50 years of their sins is erased. Right? And so I know some people who've taken it as a daily, in their commute, they recite it 200 times. What? If you don't know how to recite, then recite this. All right, 200 times. Surah Al-Ikhlas. You're going to find your iman, slowly your heart getting polished and polished and polished. And the best time is after Fajr and before sleeping. You polish and polish and polish. It's like you're getting a soapy lather going with every mention of the name of Allah in these adhkar that are warid in the sunnah. Okay? You will find yourself slowly polishing that mirror and feeling the effects of it in the deep sleep and sakina coming upon you, and also in the next day when you realize that which bothered you yesterday doesn't bother you anymore. That which was doubtful to you yesterday isn't doubtful to you anymore. One of the signs of the pure heart is these two things, right? The human beings who bothered you, the loss of dunya that bothered you, or confusion about right and wrong, truth and falsehood, no longer is confusing to you, or hardship in Sharia, right? Hardship in practicing the Sharia. Right? إذا تحلت الهداية قلبا نشطت في العبادة الأعضاء. This is a famous poem a person said, one of the scholars said, if guidance settles into the heart, then the limbs jump up with energy to obey Allah Ta'ala. And that's the sign of a healthy heart. So if you want to know if my heart is healthy, let's look at the sacred law. If the sacred law tells me something's forbidden, I run the other way. Okay? I want to run the other way. I don't like it. If the sacred law tells me something's obligatory, even sunnah, I love it and I want to run to it and do it. All right. And this, you see it in some youth. Right. You see it in some youth. They learn something as a sunnah, within 5 minutes he's doing it. Okay. That's hidayah. And then sometimes the heart contracts and the lights dim. And then all of a sudden an obligation like salah comes upon him. He's lazy. All right. And a temptation of lust or dunya shows up, and all of a sudden he's running to it. What's the answer to that? The Sahaba asked the Prophet ﷺ, why is it that some people, move in the direction of taqwa and submission to Allah, and others don't? They'll go the opposite way. Prophet, peace be upon him, said, because it's a nur that entered their heart, right? And they asked, well, what is the nur? Okay, what is the sign of this light? Okay, the Prophet said some people's hearts open up because a light has descended in their heart. And when they ask, what's the sign of this light? What's the indicator? He says, "At-tajafi an dar al-ghurur," that you lose interest in worldly matters. You don't intentionally go away from it, you just lose interest, right? وَالْإِنَابَةُ إِلَى دَارِ الْخُلُودِ, and now you start having concerns about the afterlife. You start wondering, what is the afterlife like? What's going to happen in the afterlife? And then, naturally, the next consequence is, right, and preparation for death before it comes. Preparing for death before it comes. That you start asking yourself, am I ready? Is there something I need to do? Do I need to make amends with anyone? Do I need to fix certain things before death comes to me? So he starts preparing for death, all right? Starts changing their lives, okay? All right, starts getting away from argumentation and jidal. Now, one of the things I wanted to do here is not necessarily to talk about a story today, even though some stories might be woven in here, but I wanted to look at certain things that may ruin our own fast. We just talked about what our fast is supposed to be. It's supposed to be love and submission to Allah. What is worship? Worship is the combination of love, awe, and submission. Obedience, okay? Submit. You can't love Allah but disobey Him on purpose, right? Mistakes fine, but on purpose. Weakness fine, but intentional disobedience and not obeying Him. Where's the love then? You keep obeying Him as much as you can. That's a sign of your love, okay? And that mahabbah is going to be increased with dhikr. However, we have to make sure we don't nullify our ibadah. And how do we nullify it? Just like Iman through dhikrillah is increased with the tongue. Dhikrillah is by the tongue. It can be nullified by the tongue. So let's take a look at a couple of these things that in Ramadan would nullify all of our ibadah and nullify our dhikr. All right. The first one, al-jidal. All right. Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani. I've been studying this book for almost 20 years. Risalat Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani. I'm loyal to my books. It's one of the first books that I got. My dad got me a copy from Mecca. I still have that copy, and I study from that book. And Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani, okay, he says, وَتَرْكُ الْمِرَاءِ وَالْجِدَالِ فِي الدِّينِ. All right, this is something that will destroy a person's hasanat, specifically in the deen. All right, debate and discussion is permitted. Okay, debate and discussion is permitted, and it is when both parties are seeking the truth and exchanging evidences. That's fine, no problem there. However, if it exits this and enters into anger, sarcasm, mockery, and hate, then it is blameworthy and sinful, especially if the subject is religion. Okay, the words might not be sinful, but the results: mockery, anger, sarcasm, hatred, and division amongst the ranks of Muslims. Have you ever seen a brother doing really well in religion, in the deen? Then all of a sudden, like 10 years later, you see him, he's like polished and there's no deen on him, no dhikr of Allah, no enthusiasm about the deen, right? And that's what we're looking for, enthusiasm. It's the direction we're going. What direction are we going in, right? Not where we are, but what direction are we going in? How's our enthusiasm? How's our love? Most of the time, the reason that something happened involves some kind of drama within the deen. All right, some kind of jidal within Muslims that made the person so disgusted and sick of the whole ummah and of Islam and everything. And so they drop out. They literally drop out. Some people drop out of the deen. Okay, and maybe he just fulfills his 5 prayers a day and that's it. And there's nothing else. He wants to stay away from all the Muslims. All right, so it's a bad thing, and that's why jidal in the deen, fitna, fit deen, ashaddu min al-qatl. Fitna, one of the meanings of it is this: when truth and falsehood lead to division of the ummah. Okay, that's one of the definitions of fitna, that there is some kind of confusion on truth and falsehood and it leads to a division in the ummah. All right, and so when we experience that division, what does Allah say in the Quran? إِذَنْ يَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ. The success, the barakah of Allah that's carrying you and bringing sweetness into your heart is gone. It's gone. Why? Because of jidal. اختلفتم, right? لا تختلفوا. All right. فَتَخْتَلِفَ قُلُوبُكُمْ. So jidal in the deen. You want to present an evidence? Present an evidence. Present it in a constructive manner. You want to hate people and be full of anger and fight? That's fine. Go fight. What Allah says in the Quran, جاهد الكفار والمنافقين. All right. وَلْتَكُنْ فِيكُمْ غِلْظَةٌ. Okay, you want to have harshness with them, not with the muttaqeen. So exchange evidences, command the right, forbid the wrong in a constructive manner, but do not argue, do not engage in any argumentation. Okay, there are 2 sunnahs sarcastically, that actually I should say 3 sunnahs sarcastically that Muslims have to, it's just like a rite of passage, argue about in the month of Ramadan. And of course, I don't think anyone's really doing it these days. I hope not, because of coronavirus and the masajid are closed anyway. Is that how many rak'ahs is Taraweeh? When is the moon sighting for the beginning of the month? When is the moon sighting for the end of the month? None of this should have jidal. Okay, find what you're comfortable with, and as long as it has some scholarly basis, Bismillah tawakkaltu ala Allah. And sometimes in Ramadan, the worst fitan have happened because Muslims are getting together in the masajid so much, right? And they're in each other's faces every single day. That one little flame, right? It just gets more and more inflamed every night in Taraweeh. But I think that, won't happen this year, hopefully. But it may happen online. What a waste. Shaitan's tricking us. And we're supposed to be locked up. We're tricking ourselves. Subhanallah. Don't let yourself fall into jidal of any kind and ruin your deen. All right? And I can guarantee you, I can actually not predict, forecast. There's a difference. Prediction is by prophets. It's by prophets and by false prophets. All right? That's predictions, prophecies. But forecasts, we want to say a forecast based upon the evidence of the past, try to see the trends of the future. There will probably be fights entering into the month of Ramadan because people will be having all day and all night okay? And maybe not sleeping well, not thinking well. Stay away. Stay away from these things. It's not worth it. And it's not your job. It's not what Allah asks you to do. Buhtan, calumny. It is to say about people what is not true. This is buhtan. And to do this in Ramadan is far worse. Causing people to offend the deen. That means it is forbidden to provoke people if you know that they're going to disrespect Allah and His Messenger in response. Kathratul dahik yumitul qalb. The next one, the Prophet ﷺ said, too much laughter kills the heart, and it's not appropriate in the month of Ramadan. Excessive laughter in the month of Ramadan is something that's, you can laugh, but excessive. Like watching 2 comedy movies in a row and you're cracking up and the ice cream's coming out and Fajr is coming in and this is how you're spending the Ramadan night. We would just say, you want to do that after Eid. No problem. You want to have some halal fun every day, all night long, and pull out the ice cream and eat straight from the tub in the living room, in the family room, on the couch, in your sweatpants. Fine, do that, but do it after Eid, right? You're not going to make something halal into haram, but it's not the appropriate time to do it in the month of Ramadan. You're just going to miss out. All right, so have a little bit more of a goal that's noble in the month of Ramadan. Sahaba didn't prohibit the second generation of Muslims from the halal, right? They had a very easygoing bar with the people, the Sahaba. They had a strong, they asked a lot from themselves, but they're easygoing with the people. Sayyidina al-Hasan al-Basri, he said, I met 70 companions. He said, if you saw all of them, you would say they're insane. Why? He said, by how lenient they were with people, right? How good-natured, right? You see someone who's good-natured, like not nitpicking, not being mean, but on themselves, they had high ambitions for themselves, right? They had high goals for themselves, and they were lenient with the people. All right, al-fanad, white lies. This you have to understand is halal and is good for you to do, and it's one of the good deeds you could do. And of course, all good deeds are recommended in the month of Ramadan. Ihya'ul Layl is to do all sorts of good deeds. You notice in the month of Ramadan, the Prophet ﷺ was described that Ahya Layla. He gave life to his night. And when the ulama said, what does Ahya Layla mean? Does it mean he prayed all night? No, in fact, the sunnah, the explanations of these ayahs say, he did all sorts of different good deeds. Of course, salah is the pillar and the main one. Taraweeh is the main one. But he did all sorts of good deeds. Now, one of the good deeds that possibly can be done is to rectify between people and to make people feel happy with one another. Right? And that's one of the deeds that some people were famous for. For example, Sayyidina al-Hasan was famous for this, okay, that he always brought people together and never separated them apart. Now, one of the techniques that's halal for this is a small little white lie of no consequence, but it would make people feel better about themselves. Okay, you're going to say, what are you saying? It's halal to tell lies? Yeah, it is halal. There's some proofs to this. And let me tell you one that is a big one. In fact, not even of no consequence, of great consequence. Miskeen man named Ibn Abi Udhra. He loved Sayyidina Umar, and Sayyidina Umar loved him. And he was a miskeen man. He came to Sayyidina Umar one day depressed. And Sayyidina Umar said, what's the matter? He said, my wife. He said, what is it? She said, she doesn't love me anymore. Sayyidina Umar said, how? He said, bring her. So Sayyidina Umar used to know this family. They used to live near him. So they were like his neighbors. So he's helping them out. So he says to his wife, he said, is it true that you told the man that you don't love him? And she said, yes. And then he looked at her and she was like, well, Amir al-Mu'mineen, let me explain. He kept asking me, do you really love me or do you hate me? And I stayed silent. And he said, and he kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And finally I thought to myself, I shouldn't tell a lie. It's haram to tell a lie. So I said, the truth is, I hate you. So he got so upset and he came storming over to you. Should I have lied? Sayyidina Umar said, yes, you should have lied. He said, if one of you does not like one of us, in other words, one of you from the women's side, you don't like one of us, one of your husbands, okay? If a woman doesn't like her husband, he said, don't tell him. Don't tell him this, right? He said, look how practical he was. Very few homes are built on love. But people can live together in Islam and with goodness. Okay? Now people are going to be a little bit testy in the month of Ramadan, so maybe they should think about this hadith, right? That it's not always everything is going to be based on love, practically speaking. Not everybody has the emotional or the rational, or is even aware that love is something that requires work. The first thing that requires work, if you want your wife to love you, be clean. That's the first thing. Be clean and try, as if possible, to be a little bit physically fit. Okay? If you can't be looked at, your chances of being loved start to go down. Okay? You need to be able to be looked at. So cleanliness is so important. Okay? Cleanliness. Generosity is important. There are a lot of things that you could work on to do these things. It's not something that just comes and goes. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Jubilat al-qulubu ala hubbi man ahsana ilayha." People's heart they have no choice, but they're magnetically attracted to somebody who does good to them. Okay, so just do good to the people, right? And be someone that can be looked at, and that someone who can be smelled as well. All right, some people always smell good. Have you noticed this? It's a habit of theirs. Okay, they always smell good, and some people are the opposite. They always smell bad, not because of their job. They don't care. So it's something that you could work at, but not everyone has been blessed with the knowledge and the know-how and even the idea of thinking about it to work on being lovable. And as a result, some people fall out of love, right? And so they're just together because it's efficient, because a divorce would be sloppy. There's kids, it would be expensive. There's messy, it's to be emotional mess. It's not worth it, okay? So Sayyidina Umar gave them advice. He said, if you're in that situation, okay, it happens, but you can live together with good akhlaq and with Islam and goodness, okay? So what is it that is allowed to sow some love between two people? White lies. Okay, this is called in Arabic al-fanad. All right, telling a little inconsequential word that's not true. Okay, but you're allowed to do it. Okay, you're allowed to do it. And so, honestly, I believe that when the more you utter a thing, you can actually make it true. Okay, you can actually make it true. So you should have to have a little bit of mind over matter, right? So this is something that a person can do as well in the month of Ramadan, is to reconcile and make people feel good about each other. A very simple one is, if you know that there's some beef between each other, is to say a word to two people that are having an argument that would soften them. You know, like saying, I know I talked to someone, he really regrets that this argument has ever taken place, right? And he was upset about it. You just say that to the other person, and you never know what's going to happen. They might slowly melt away. The argument might melt away. So that's something that's a good deed to do between people, and certain truths don't need to be said. Certain truths, the opposite of this. Now, mafhum al-mukhalafa. Mafhum al-mukhalafa is gleaning from the opposite. If it's halal to do a little white lie to reconcile between people, then it should be makruh, maybe haram, to say a truth that would separate between people. Now, the only time that you have to say such a truth is when there are interests involved, such as marriage, work, living together, traveling together, business relationships between people. That you have to say the truth that pertains to an interest. And this leads us to ghiba. The Prophet ﷺ, and here we are going into the month of good deeds, he said, do you know the deed that burns the good deeds like fire burns wood? There's one about envy and there's one about backbiting. All right? Backbiting just burns. What's the point of Taraweeh all day than backbiting? Right? All right, so stay away from backbiting. And backbiting is to say something that someone doesn't like to hear, even if it's true. All right, so-and-so, he's ugly. So-and-so, he's not smart. So-and-so, he's this, that, or the other. It's true, but it would hurt him that you said it. The only time it is wajib to do ghiba, wajib, is, again, if there are interests involved. Should I go see such and such a doctor? No, because last time she, operated on people, she took the wrong organs out, right? So that's wajib for you to do. Okay, you have to say the truth about when there are interests involved. Should I sell him a house? No, he never pays. He lies. Okay. Should I marry such and such? No, he smokes marijuana on the side when nobody knows, but I know. So you have to say the truth when it comes to people's interests. Okay, so that's the ghibah that's permitted. If there are no interests, then again, it is forbidden to backbite. This is a big one. Hatskul awrat, to expose people's privacy. Someone commits a sin in private, you can't expose it. The only time you're allowed to speak about people's vices is if they harm other people. All right? If they are harming other people, you have the right to speak about their harms, okay? And to tell people to be careful, right? Tell them, listen, he's in a very bad state right now. If your son hangs out with him, he's going to start smoking, drinking, and going with the wrong crowd. So don't let your son hang out with that kid, right? That's halal for you to do, because if there's a potential harm, okay, then you're allowed to speak about people's flaws. However, we should consult our intention whenever we speak about other people, right? We should consult our intention. If our intention is to look down on people and kick them while they're down, no, they actually need help. Right? Even if he's harming other people, he should need some kind of dua for you. They need your dua. You might hate them, what they're doing right now, but you should know that some people, they're in a bad state. Okay? They're harming other people. It's true, we're going to stop that harm, but they do need your prayers. They don't need you to kick them down. What's the proof of this? How about the sahabi, who was found guilty for public drunkenness? Now, how bad is public drunkenness? It's terrible. Because now imagine one of the person in the community, we see him and the youth see him all the time drinking in public. He's setting a bad example, right? So he should get lashed. And this one sahabi who kept getting lashes, right? And he kept getting punished. And then one man, he came and he cursed him. One sahabi, while he's punishing him, he cursed him. And the Prophet ﷺ said, don't help his shaitan against him. All I know about him is he loves Allah and his messenger. The man was good at heart, but he kept making mistakes. He was in a bad situation within himself that caused him, despite keeping the company of the Messenger of Allah, to fall into drinking alcohol. And so the Prophet ﷺ showed us, we're going to stop the wrong. Here, the biggest deal, he's performing the had punishment on the man, okay? But still, nonetheless, the attitude of the Prophet, peace be upon him, was one of almost constructive. Like, he's in a bad spot, what he needs is your help. So we will do both. We have a dhahir and we have a batin. In the dhahir, we're going to stop the wrong, okay? Even if it means punishment, by had, by hudud, okay? But in our hearts, you want to have a good intention. In other words, that Allah lift this person up and out of this. Irhamu man fil ard, yarhamkum man fis sama. One of the tafasir of this, have mercy on those in the ground, that Allah will have mercy. Then the one on the heavens will have mercy upon you. Notice it doesn't say irhamu man ala al-ard, irhamu man fil ard. So some of the explanations of this say that it's somebody who's in a very lowly situation, right? Spiritually speaking, their iman is in a low situation, is really low, and they're in a miserable state and they're doing a lot of bad things. So how do you have mercy upon them? You have to stop them from harming society, but you should have a decent intention towards them, right? And the other day on the podcast, I spoke about people that, they talk too much. They may give unsolicited advice. They may just bother you, right? And I'd never have an intent to speak about a specific person, right? But I just want to make it clear. We should make it clear. This is not to be making fun of them, right? It's not making fun of them. You make fun of a mu'min, guarantee from Allah Ta'ala that attribute will come into you. And worse, it might come into your offspring. So you're being embarrassed because of what your offspring are doing. All right? So never look down on someone who's in a bad state. Okay? You might have to take action, but don't look down on them. You have ihtiqar for a abd of Allah Ta'ala, a Muslim. That attribute can come out of you tomorrow. All right? So it's a very important thing. And it's very important to recognize people's that attitude, that good attitude, that goodwill attitude and approach to people, even if they're in a bad state. Okay. The next one is al-hazl, and joking. We have rules. We have rules to how we should joke and not joke, particularly in the month of Ramadan. Any joking involving startling somebody, lying about somebody, mocking somebody, okay, hurting someone's feeling, or joking about marriage and divorce is forbidden. Okay, and in the month of Ramadan, excess in hazl is discouraged. Okay, not haram, but discouraged. Excess. Okay, so that in all the spheres of our speech, there should be a difference in the month of Ramadan. It also involves our eyes. Okay, our eyes. Now, one of the things I deleted so many apps from this phone. Right? I have an iPod. Everyone knows I have a flip phone. But I also have this little iPod. It's a disconnected phone that helps me do certain things on the apps, right, during the day when I'm working. But certain things I removed. I removed the things that have raghi, talking, tweeting, commenting, exchanging. I don't need to talk. Not interested, right? The month of Ramadan, it doesn't need to talk about fulan and ilan and so-and-so said this and so-and-so said that. How's it going to affect me on Yawm al-Qiyamah? I'm going to only do two things. Something that's going to benefit me with Allah, or something that's going to earn me a buck. Everything else is a waste of time. Think about it, right? If it's going to benefit you with Allah Ta'ala, that Allah said this is a good deed for you to do, okay? Or something that is your job to do, to earn you your life's living. Everything else is a waste of time. Qila wa qal. Okay, the Prophet ﷺ naha an al-qili wal-qal. He forbade, he said this, she said that. Is it my job? Did Allah reveal in the Quran that I got to go and yip yap like this? So remove yourself from this. There should be a difference on what we look at in the month of Ramadan. If you are a bit sloppy, many people are, many young people are sloppy in what you look at on the phone, and you end up looking at something that's haram, all right? Or something that's a little bit edgy on the questionable side. And the answer is very simple. If your dad walks in the room and you're going to click off, if your mom walks in the room, if your friend walks in the room and you have to click away, it's probably haram. That's the simple rule. Next time you ask yourself, is it haram? Ask yourself, if a noble person that you respect walks in the room, would you click away, yes or no? Right? And if the answer is yes, then avoid it. So the month of Ramadan should have an impact in what we're looking at. Month of Ramadan, there should also be an impact in what we listen to and not listen to. If you're someone who was a little bit lax in music, it's not the time in the month of Ramadan, right? It's a month of Quran. We're not going to get into the debate about music, but one thing that we can say, it's not appropriate in the time of Ramadan to allow yourself that laxity. So if you allowed it for yourself in the past, I'm not going to discuss it here, but don't allow that laxity in this month, all right? So just take it. It's literally, as the Quran says, ayyam al-ma'dudat. This month is going to go by so quick as it does every year, right? All right, a couple other things here. We looked at jidal, we looked at al-katm al-madhmoom, kitman madhmoom. This is an interesting one. If you have knowledge of something that is beneficial to people and you're keeping it from them, it's forbidden and could even be sinful. Okay, forbidden and could maybe even be sinful. If you have knowledge of something that would harm somebody and you remain silent about it, it as well can be sinful. This is al-kitman al-madhmoom. All right. Al-lahn, sloppiness in recitation of the Quran, and many people do this in private when they're tired and they need to pray Fajr. They wake up and mumble their Fajr and mumble the Quran, and this is something that could become sinful. So even though, no matter how tired you are, make sure you pronounce the Quran properly. If you don't, then go to myarcview.org and learn how to pronounce the letters properly in a free class called Introduction to the Science of Tajweed. Okay, so these are some things that burn our good deeds. So we started off by talking about that love that we should have engender inside of our hearts. That's our motivation. Our manhaj is a manhaj that starts in the heart. And that is, we love this deen and love Allah and love taslim to Him and love obeying Him and love making dhikr of Him. It's a passion that we have. We're like a club. You go to certain clubs, right? What do? They do horses, right? They love horses. What is it called? Equine club or whatever. There are other people, they love fishing. You can find other Facebook pages, people love collecting memorabilia. we're people who love Allah and His Messenger, and that we do taslim to them. So that discussion is not even up for discussion. All right, that issue, that's the basis of our relationship with one another, and that's what we do here. Okay, so that mahabba is going to come from kathratu dhikrillah, right? Kathrat dhikri la ilaha illallah. If not, kathrat qira'at al-Quran, recitation of Quran. Okay, you're going to live like everyone else, but you do a lot of dhikrillah, and it's going to engender love of Allah. Once you have love in your heart, you want to obey Him, you want to fast, you want to do the sunan. It comes naturally, not by force. Not by force, okay? It comes naturally from your heart. So that's that. Really starting from tomorrow is going to be the day we should start thinking about our recitation during the day. And the time that we recite in the day should, if we can really shoot for 1 juz a day. Okay, 1 juz a day will be an excellent practice. And then on the last night, on the 29th night, you read 2 juz 29 and 30, because you never know, the month may be 29 days or 30 days. All right, so let's go to the live chat, but let's also do a couple of community reminders about the community events that are coming up. The Ramadan night programs start tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Okay. Saturdays are going to be special nights where there are NJ, I guess, what would you call it? Inner Masjid NJ collaboration thing, where all the masajid will be on one Zoom channel. Okay, and that information will be passed on to us. Okay, the brother Zija Ali from MCMC had a great idea. He did all the groundwork, all the legwork. He and the flyer, you should be seeing it around if you're in the NJ area. So that'll be Saturdays. Friday as well, tomorrow, a day after tomorrow, is the curbside iftar from 6:15 to 7 o'clock. You can go to NBIC and you will be given a free iftar in place of Friday night. Ramadan was always the first. Friday night was always at NBIC as a community iftar. There will be, sadly, no community iftars this year. However, look at the bright side. There's going to be a lot of family iftars. And sometimes we don't get to do these, right? All the time. All right, so with that, those are some basic announcements. Again, go to nbic.org and get the information from there. All right, so let's open it up to the live chat. All right, we have Aziz Azatar, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum assalam. Mariam Bushnaq, Harris Amin, Hamza Shah Khan, Surfraz Mansouri, Luis Gamer Cool 23, AM, Frozan, Nafiz, Nadia Pranik, Habiba, all people, Vito Rekia, all people giving salam, Zainab salam. So many people sending salam to the community, and don't underestimate that, it's dua, right? Assalamu alaikum is dua. GQ Ashiq says, is it valid for a brother to ask a sister to see her without hijab for the intention of marriage? Are you insane? Are you insane? If that was the case, everyone would be going to do that every day. Hey, can I send me your pic? I need to want to marry you. Of course not. Okay. All right. To ensure that there isn't anything being hidden about her appearance. Now that you have the right to know if there is a flaw. Okay. If there's a flaw in the person, you do have the right to know. So you can have your mom or go ask, is there something abnormal? Now, that's all you can do. But nobody could go looking at a sister, much less asking her to see her picture without hijab. So if anyone does think that mistakenly, then the answer is no. Hey, it could happen. People, maybe they got a wrong fatwa, but that's that's not the right one. So don't do that. Luis Gamer Cool 23. My birthday is going to be in Ramadan. MashaAllah. Well, how old are you going to be? $13. Oh, mashallah. So he's a young gun. So we got some young guns here. It's always good to see the young guns learning. Right? Luis, are you going to fast or doing half day? You going to fast half day until dhuhr or all day till maghrib? MM says, how does one deal with the midday mind fog from fasting? Take a nap. If possible, take a nap. The Prophet ﷺ said, help yourself for tahajjud by taking a qaylula during the day so you can take a nap. Munna Shuaib, assalamu alaikum from Virginia, mashallah. Louise Gamer Cool, fasting a full day. Well done. Congratulations. All the way from Fajr to Maghrib. There you go. Well done. All right, what else we got here? Let's see if we got anyone from the phones. All right, Jawad Ali says, could you please elaborate on the moonlighting opinions? Moonlighting opinions, the moon sighting, you mean, is all of the madhahib. Okay, all of the madhahib al-arba'a, they said that the Ramadan is by moon sighting. Okay, and of the recent contemporary fatwas, they said they ruled by the visibility of the moon sighting, and so that's really it. Nafis Hamiz, will community update be back after Ramadan? We'll probably take like a couple days off. I always take a couple days off, but after that, I will probably get back to it because people will still be, I don't know. We'll see if people want it. Then I guess we'll keep doing it. People do sort of need. I guess it's our connection. We don't have Jum'ah. We don't have family night. We don't have any connections in the masjid anymore. So I guess we are connecting here. So if it's going well, then why not? Harris Amin said Saudi changed the date to today is the 28th and Thursday is the 29th of Sha'ban. Yeah, I mean, after many years of this, you sort of you're going with your local masjid, right? How does one control frustration and annoyance, especially when living with other people other than your own during fasting? Or living with another family during fasting? Try to spend time alone. If you're cranky, be alone from people. Stay away from people if you're alone. It's Sadd al-Dhari'ah. The Maliki Madhab has a big principle called Sadd al-Dhari'ah, which means blocking the means. Right? Close the door to begin with. It's safer, it's better. Walid Mish'ar, Ramadan Mubarak to everyone. May Allah forgive us. Yes, definitely. Ameen. Spooky says, when holding the Mus'haf during Taraweeh, does it have to be a physical or can you hold the Quran app on the phone? You can technically hold the Quran app on the phone. However, if it will result in distraction because notifications are coming up, then no. Then hold the Quran is better. And also the Mus'haf itself is ibadah to look at. So I would prefer the Quran itself. Okay. Question from Rami says, if while reciting Quran we make dua after certain ayat, do we have to do isti'adha again? No. You only have to say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim again if you talk about worldly affairs to somebody in the middle of your recitation. So you're reciting Yasin wal Quran Hakim and Mursalin, and then someone comes in, hey, how's everything going? How was the doctor's appointment? Good. Then you have to start over because you talked about matters of dunya, right? You have to say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim and start over. Okay, this question says, GQ Ashik says, is your fast valid if you miss Fajr prayer and pray Qada? The fast is still valid, yes. Okay. If you ask to see a sister without hijab, your fast will still be valid, but you'll be sinful. Okay? Since GQ Ashik knows people who want to do that. So I hope you can text them back and tell them, cut it out. And cut out this nonsense. Isn't it different for some fiqhs? About what is different for some fiqhs? Holding the Quran? Yes, the Ahnaf don't allow it. The Hanafites, from what I know, they do not allow you to hold anything in your hands. But the other ones do. Luis Gamer Cool says, so my cousin's listening in England. MashaAllah, that's good. And they're happy when you read my comment. That's great. Alhamdulillah. And yes, we were looking at the book Fiqh for Kids today as a little reference. That's good. What does your ideal day look like during the month of Ramadan? I think the best ideal day is you really need to in the daytime to recite a portion of Quran. That's the only thing that I focus on. Keep my game plan real simple. In the daytime, one juz of Quran to be recited. In the nighttime, Taraweeh to be prayed. Taraweeh, you pray as much as you can, right? Whatever you can. The more recitation of Quran you do. Right, in the Maliki school, the policy for masajid is 20 rak'ahs, but for individuals, you recite as much Quran as possible in the salah. Whether you do that over 20 rak'ahs or 2 rak'ahs or 36 rak'ahs is not the significant part. The significant part is the Quran. Okay, so I try to keep my game plan simple, and usually you're going to probably need a nap during the day. Most people do. The days are still, I wouldn't say they're short. They're not terribly long, but they're still not short, right? So you might still need a nap during the day. How does one avoid listening to backbiting if an adult or elder in your family starts to backbite? You can start sneezing, go into the bathroom, pretending there's something in your ear, and not hurt their feelings, not make them feel like they're sinners. Definitely don't make them feel that they're sinners, right? Try to get out of it somehow without making them feel that they're sinners. No, don't ever make a Muslim feel that he's a sinner. Don't make a Muslim feel that he's low, right? And that's why sometimes I do that, right? Sometimes I'm talking about an action and how bad the action is, and people might think, oh, I have that action, so he's making me feel low about myself. I never intend to do that. I never intend to make someone feel low about themselves. Right? That's something that if that person ever says, oh, I do that, so he must be talking about me or people like me, that's never my intention. I always want to, I never want to make a sinner feel bad, in the sense that like picking on them. So I don't want to make someone feel that he's committing some sins, but I will just stay away, try to get away from it. Can you explain about Prophet Dhul Kifl? Yeah, maybe one day we'll get to it. Dhul Kifl. Is it disliked to ask someone else for dua? No, it's not disliked at all. As Prophet asked Sayyidina Umar for his dua. What is the max number of tarawih you can pray? No limit. No limit. Again, the number 20 is our policy for masajid, because that's what Sayyidina Umar established. That's what's going to be the sunnah. Sayyidina Umar ibn Abdul Aziz elevated it to 36 to shorten the length of each rak'ah, to give people a chance to leave. But the overall, if you go to all four madhabs, the policy for mosques is to establish 20. But as for you can pray as little or as much as you want. But it's not just about getting credit. I did tarawih, check mark, right? No, but you want to try to recite as much Quran as possible inside the tarawih, if possible. Out of interest, have you met Sheikh Muhammad ibn Alawi al-Maliki? Of course, not only met, but I studied with him, Muhammad Alawi al-Maliki. And we spent a whole summer, in Mecca, going to his house in 2001, summer of 2001. And he would have something called a diwaniyah. A diwaniyah is that there's a public part of the house. Part of the house is open to the public between Maghrib and Isha. That was his habit. Salatul Maghrib, he would come out of his house, and there would be what the Sayyid had, Sayyid Muhammad Alawi al-Maliki, is something unique because he was under house arrest. So he owned a full block, and in that block he had many buildings. He had like a school, and a lot of students lived in there. Mostly from Indonesia. And he had his portion of the house. Then he had a musalla, where most of the classes took place. Then he had a door that led into the diwaniyah, which was an open area, and he had like a chair because his knee was no good. He had a bum knee, and he had a chair. He would sit on this chair, and then all the people would come in, and whoever wants to talk. Sometimes there was nothing going on, right? Sometimes some friends would come in. Some people want to talk. Some people need him, right? And people would just come in and hang out. They pray Maghrib, hang out with the Sayyid. So let me show you a picture of Sayyid Muhammad Alawi al-Maliki while I tell you the story. And he would sit and talk to people. Tea would be served. Dates with almonds would be served. Sometimes dinner would be served, right? And so Sayyid Muhammad Alawi al-Maliki was known for being extremely, you could say, he loved to joke. When I saw him, I was shocked. I was like, this is the sheikh that everyone's talking about, right? And he's a big allama and everything. And it was him. And he loved to joke, and people loved him. People genuinely loved Sayyid Muhammad Ali al-Maliki, even if they disagreed with him. So he was somebody who did this, and I was, alhamdulillah, had the good hadh from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, good fortune to be able to go and spend time with Sayyid Muhammad Ali al-Maliki. And this is him right here. This is how Sayyid Muhammad Ali al-Maliki looks. Okay. Everyone loved him, right? Even the people who disagreed with him loved him. Why? Because he made you laugh, right? He was persuasive. He made you laugh. And he was big, like over 6 feet tall, right? And wide too. So he's a domineering presence. His father and his father before that, they were all mashayikh of Mecca. All of them. Okay. And so he passed away in around 2003, 2004, 2005, something like that. And I had studied with him, and I still have his books. He signed he wrote dua inside of all the books, and I went and he's told me study all these books. I said, Sheikh, what about people who say you have to study the book with the Sheikh? He asked me a couple questions, figured that I know some basic things. So he said, study them. All right. I said, Sheikh, I'm going to write a master's thesis about you. He said, better be good. Right? And he said, send it over, have it translated and send it over. But he actually passed away before I was able to do that. But that's Sayyid Muhammad Ali al-Maliki. All right, so we're hovering up to an hour. Let's see if there are any other questions or comments. What food is optimal for suhoor? Very simple. Fool. Okay, you go to your Egyptian store and you get fool. I get very Egyptian in my Ramadan. My adhan has to be the exact famous adhan, the old 50s adhan. The suhoor, it has to be Egyptian. Fool, olive oil, parsley, okay, water, maybe tea or coffee, okay, and pita bread, okay. I have to go to the Arab store tomorrow to get all this stuff. I hope he's not closed for Corona. That's going to be a problem. But that's what food is the best food, right? Food sits in your stomach like a rock. But you have to have a lot of parsley, okay? Or else that rock will stay there, okay? And you know what I'm talking about. If we pray Tarawih, do we also have to pray Tahajjud later? No, you don't have to. But if you're getting up for Suhoor, pray 2 rakahs anyway. So why lose the Tahajjud? If it's okay, I would request dua for my family. My dad is in the front lines. I guess he means in the hospitals, right? In the front lines. So may Allah Ta'ala give him strength and protect him. Jawad Ali, very inspiring story of the Sheikh. He was amazing. And he was one of the people who was the mountains I'm always proud that I had been able to sit with. Every day we go. Now, believe it or not, this is a bad thing that happened that ended up good. Now, check out this story. Is amazing. I got special treatment from Sayyid Muhammad Ali al-Maliki. And he had me sit next to him all the time. He gave me all his books. If there was a dinner, I would eat with him, right? He always gave me this special treatment. Now, why? I was a normal person that came, and so many people come to study with him. But when I went, there was a man by the name, there was a connection, right, that wrote him a letter or called him on the phone and said, there's a young man, his name's Shahid al-Masri from New Jersey, he's coming to study with you. He said, mashallah, marhaba, click. He's coming on such and such day. I get there, I call another connection, a guy from Uzbekistan who knew the Sheikh. That man, I told him, and he called Said, and he said, that student who's coming to do his master's thesis, he's here and he's coming tomorrow. Okay. Now, I didn't have connection with these people. There was no cell phones back in those. The cell phones weren't like something that were prevalent. Okay. So I get there, I knock on the door, and someone opens up a little screen in the door. And he says, what do you need? I said, I'm here to see Sayyid Muhammad Ali al-Maliki. I'm doing a study on him, and I'm going to be studying with him for the rest of the summer. And he says, I think you're lying. And he closes the door, believe it or not. I couldn't believe it. I start banging on the door. He says, stop, you're harassing us, right? And don't knock again. I'm like, what in the world is going on here? So I was so fuming that night and so upset. You know, you only have a summer to study with this big sheikh, right? I lost the first night. Now I try to contact the Uzbeki brother, Khalid. I couldn't find him. Okay, he wasn't picking up the phone. I go the next day. There's waiting for me. The guy opens up. It's you again. You're a liar. You're probably mukhabarat. You're probably a spy. Okay, you look like a spy. I'm like, what does it look like a spy mean, right? Closes on me again. Second day, 30 days in a row. Finally, I was able to see in the haram in Mecca after Isha. There weren't a lot of people in the middle of the summer. So I bumped into them. I said, please, this is the connection, the local connection. I said, please, could you call the site? Can you come with me? Because these students, the Indonesians, right, they're opening up and they're telling me I'm a spy and they kick me out. So he calls the Sayyid and he says, we're coming in. They come in. This time he's there and he vouches for me and he starts yelling at this Indonesian student who kept kicking me out. And then when we got in, oh my gosh, the Sayyid lit up on this student, right? And he made him go get me tea, go get me dates, go get me dinner, and he lit up and he felt so bad, right? And he started having me sit next to him. And so that's why I said you go negative may cause you to swing with more momentum into the positive, right? And so that's how a bad start ended up causing a really good thing to happen. So otherwise, I wouldn't have, just been treated me like anyone else, right? So it was good to have that bad start. So never underestimate the bad start to something. A bad start might be really good. What are the durood that you recommend in the month of Ramadan? As much as you can, and any sigha of salah on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Any sigha. And of course, we know that last 10 days is today to say, Allahumma innaka afuun tuhibbul afwa fa'afu anna. In the last 10 nights, that's what the Prophet said to Sayyidah Aisha. Abdul Haq, is it considered lying if we say yes to reading the terms and conditions? No, it's not lying. Right? It's not lying. Dr. Naveen Masri, I met him and had dinner with him in Mecca. That's good. I want to hear that story, inshallah. Because he was someone who is always the life of the party. He was so genuine. There was no fakery in his religion. No fakery whatsoever. Okay. Can we hear just a snippet of your 50s Egyptian adhan? I'm going to have to give you a link. I'm going to have to get you the link. Okay. Let me get you the link for it right now. All right, here it is. I'm going to send you this link. This is, let me check. All right, so I'm going to send you this link. This is Egyptian style. I'm telling you, the Egyptians and in Islam, like old school, original, the real thing. Okay, 50s, 60s, they're the most balanced people in Islam, I can guarantee you. Most balanced people in Islam, right? Knowledge, benefit, okay? So that's the link there. Iftar food, recommended, yes. For iftar, before Taraweeh, don't go too heavy on the food. Not smart. It's just not smart to go too heavy on the food, okay? You won't be able to pray Taraweeh, right? And unfortunately, there are some people, and here I am about to say something about people who do something that's bad, that's disgusting. Without offending them, they burp in the Taraweeh. It's really disgusting, to be honest with you, okay? And it's bothersome. So that's because they have too much food. Eat a decent food, then you can eat again after Taraweeh if you're that hungry. Oh, subhanallah. See that? He says here, he gave me a special treatment sitting me next to him because I'm your dad. Allahu Akbar. See that? Great man, Sayyid Muhammad Ali al-Maliki. All right, let us stop here. And we went overboard, but hey, it's our last community update. 33 in a row. 33 is not that big of a number, but it's a nice number. All right, and it's something that we didn't even intend to do, believe it or not. This community update was something I thought of one Friday morning, that we weren't going to have Jummah, and I figured we need to communicate with the community, so we tried it, and it turned out to be okay. So, with that, let us go to the closing dua, and the last comment there. MashaAllah, people like this story. Looking forward to a community update again and more stories about sheikhs you've benefited from and have met. Sure, why not? Right? We'll definitely do that. And for now, let's go to our dua. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم تحصنت بذي العزة واعتصمت برب الملكوت وتوكلت على الحي الذي لا يموت اللهم اصرف عنا الوباء بلطفك يا لطيف إنك على كل شيء قدير تحصنت بذي العزة واعتصمت برب الملكوت وتوكلت على الحي الذي لا يموت اللهم اصرف عنا الوباء بلطفك يا لطيف إنك على كل شيء قدير تحصنت بذي العزة واعتصمت برب الملكوت وتوكلت على الحي الذي لا يموت اللهم اصرف عنا الوباء بلطفك يا لطيف إنك على كل شيء قدير وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين
اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم الصبح بدا من طلعته والليل دجى من وفرته الله سعتي شجر نطق الحجر شق المر بإشارته الله كنز الكرم مولى النعم هادي الأمم لشريعته الله أزكى الناس بي على الحسب كل العرب في خدمته الله الله فالعز لنا لإجابته الله 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 لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم